in the fall. It changes before school starts, so it doesn't screw up school.
Yeah. Hey, go on, Effie. I'm only 3 minutes late. What are you on about? You better get back out of bed quick.
G'day, Effie.
Got a bit of an echo going there. What's going on?
I got it. It was my phone. Riley.
Riley, give his phone back.
Yeah, don't blame the bloody dog, Bob. Jeez.
No. I was just given a cupcake, and I can't eat the icing. So that's the best way to get rid of it.
So if someone sent you chocolates, you wouldn't be able to eat them. Is that what you're saying?
Well, I would have to see how much chocolate's in each piece and what the sugar is. And it might take over 4 or 5 days, 6 days. But I'm used to that, to put a piece of chocolate, real chocolate, in the top of my mouth.
Dark chocolate's all right, apparently, because it's made out of cocoa, not out of sugar.
Yeah.
Right.
That's why I eat it.
Don't tell Capri.
Riley.
All right.
And because you're early, Jay, you've upset my bloody sequence of events, so I'm going to make myself a cup of tea, all right?
You like that one?
Yeah.
Well, hello, John. I know we're all strange, but it doesn't mean we're strangers.
How you going, John? How are you?
So how has your day been?
Sorry, Bob, what was that?
Oh, how has your day been?
Only been up for a couple of hours, so it's not too bad.
You haven't decided yet.
No. Ask me again in a couple of hours. Wow, John. Been busy, huh? Good work. You reading the chat there, Bob?
Yeah. Yeah, I do too, John.
Yeah.
I've had all sorts of pets, but these to live. out in the Pacific Northwest of the U.S. for quite a few years, in Alaska for 9. The only problem living in Alaska is the bears until they go into hibernation. They see you as a tidbit to eat. Doing good, John. If you want to join us, we can send you a link.
There you go. Who's that? Going all right here, John. I mean, I've got my other shed up and going, and I'm in that now, and yeah, just got to. I'm basically waiting for Melbourne to come out of lockdown so I can get my lathe from Robbo's house. That's pretty much what I'm waiting for. But you know, I've got this lathe to keep me occupied for the time being. So. John's in the chat, Robbo. You're on mute too.
Yeah, cows in labour. Hope you got a long rubber glove, have you?
If not, he might be in deep shit.
Yeah, well, that's true. Oh, slowly getting rid of your horses, I see. Must be costing you a fortune in feeding them.
Perfect turning music. A little bit of. That's which opera? Or that's ballet?
No, that's Strauss waltzes.
Oh, okay.
But I used to time myself, believe it or not, with the 1812 overture.
Oh, that is one piece that I love.
15 minutes long, and I could tell how many legs I'd done in that time.
Oh, okay.
That's good, John. You got a radio or something on in the background, Bob?
Yeah, it's just walking away from me.
John said that
some teenagers have to carry their music or their game with them when they need to get a drink or hit the restroom. They just can't put it down.
John N said the feed mill is helping out tremendously in sponsoring our 2 racehorses and soon to be 3.
Ah.
Oh yeah, nice.
But John, does that mean that the mill gets a percentage of the win?
Actually, Jay, I'm working on your lathe at the moment. Actually,
Oh yeah, doing the cabinet.
Putting the cabinet in underneath it. Yeah.
Oh yeah, sweet. So I got a slight dilemma.
Oh, geez, I've always got heaps of dilemmas.
How do I get that out without scratching the crap out of my bowl? It's
What?
paint.
It should just about peel off. Use your fingernail.
I don't have any.
Oh, yeah, well.
Yeah, because I'm gonna clean it up as best as I can. I'm gonna enter it into an art exhibition.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that is gorgeous.
Or another thing you can do, get a little bit of acrylic sheet.
Yeah.
And make a scraper out of it.
Oh,
That's how we get the silicon off motorhomes and stuff.
Yep.
Oh, that's good, John. John says, I believe so, about your question about the sponsorship. I believe so. My partner in crime has been in the industry for about 20 years. My father-in-law had 2 racehorses. God, they were useless.
Prima donnas or treated like one?
I treated like ones, but the problem is, I reckon they had a slot in their back where you just poured $100 notes down it.
Now, when I lived out in western U.S. for years, I had my own horse, and I also had a pack horse. I used to work for a gentleman by the name of Paul Petzel that started the commercial outdoor movement, and where you would come and experience being as a corporation type support management, and that would come and learn teamwork.
Yeah, American razzle dazzle bullshit.
Well, the idea was, and psychologically it worked, is that you took people who they just barely knew how to ride a bicycle, but they were management, and you would take the team that they were to manage, and you'd send them to to Paul's school. It was called Outward Bound, and you'd spend a week learning to work together, and sometimes 2 weeks. But you had to learn to ride a horse. They were tame. And then we'd had pack horses, and all the gear that we took went into the pack horse. And we did this in Wyoming, and sometimes in northeastern Idaho, mostly northern Wyoming. And a lot of them had never set up a campfire, had never camped in a tent, didn't know. And the people who had are usually the ones on the bottom of the financial totem pole, because they've done work like that, either as scouts or, fishing. You go for a weekend fishing and you start a fire and cook your fish, that common outdoor stuff. But yet, we used to say the whiter the collar, for the white collar, they didn't know how to do any of that. And the object was, in his theory, management theory, is that you learn to work together as a team. The people who knew the least about what they were going to do for a week or 2 weeks knew the most. And it was like, well, you don't know how to bait a hook. Let me show you. And they get together and it was first names only. And it was often before the team was actually officially assigned together. So corporations would pick the managers and the assistant managers and then the crew that they needed of people, including secretaries. It was co-ed. And then we would have sometimes up to 25 people. One time I think we got up to 40, and there was one for every 6 people, one team member like myself. And they learned to depend on each other. And the object was they learned to work together as people, as a team, not as a corporate ladder or corporate tree. And that becomes very, very common here to get them out to do that. And Outward Bound started it, and they went through some court cases because people kept stealing their registered name. But they were saying it's a method called Outward Bound. But no, Paul Petzel owned it. He filed it, and it was the name of his business yet as a registered trademark too. But it's interesting to see people horseback that had never seen a horse other than on TV. And now you say, well, your gear goes on, this is how you get on. And but the horses were well trained. They didn't throw anybody off. They'd follow each other. So it was fun. But that was back in 1970 through the 80s. It was big, and some into the 90s.
My brother and I used to take hiking parties down to Tasmania of wayward girls, and that's what they were for, to make them. They had to rely on each other.
Yep.
And it wasn't for team building. It was to make them responsible for their own actions and everything. And we had a pretty strict set of rules, like no swearing, no this, no that, and was to straighten them out more than anything else, because they were getting into trouble at schools and things like that. We always had female teachers with us.
Uh-huh.
Well,
it's still team building, isn't it? Between each other.
But when I worked for Caltex, Jesus, I'll tell you what, some of the bloody rah-rah bullshit that the Yanks used to come out with was astounding, I tell you. Oh, it's not Caltex in America, it's Texaco Oil, but...
Okay, yeah, that's what I thought it was. I'd seen a documentary piece that was done on that a few years ago on the history of it. But we would take them, sometimes actually had groups that went into the Grand Tetons, the mountain chain. And we, like some of us, love to do climbing, so we would go climbing and teach some of them rappelling down, a simple 100-foot drop off of the side of a cliff or something, but we had them harnessed up so we controlled them in case they slipped.
It's probably a good idea.
Yeah, they're worth a lot of money, but it worked. We had oil companies do it. We had IBM do it. We had Hewlett-Packard was a big group that did it back then. Big corporations had us booked even into the winter, where they'd go out at 0 and learn to camp. That was rough on us, let alone these people who lived in executive offices and expensive, rooftop in New York penthouses.
Yeah, well,
but if the corporation said do it, you did it. And
that was the trouble we had with a lot of the girls, like 16 and 17-year-old girls. Some as low as 13 or 14. But they were spoiled little brats from all the upper class suburbs. It was Methodist Ladies College, McRobertson's Girls High, Toorak College. They were all spoiled little brats, most of them. But that was when I was young and fit.
Amen, brother. I was in my 20s, late 20s. But it was fun. I got to do a lot of backpacking and climbing because of that, and all sorts of stuff I did because I did film work. I shot a lot of film for people, commercial film. They just didn't want to go out and photograph bears in their natural habitat. Okay, I'll go shoot it. Bill them pretty good chunk of money. Take 2 or 3 people with me and make it a fishing trip or a hunting trip and photograph it, and they pay for the whole trip and put money in all of our pockets in order to sign the release so they could use it. And then I think and look at myself and I think about what I used to do, and oh boy, it's just fond memories anymore. Way back there. It's a shame you got to get old. All you have is the memories of doing it and how stupid you were many, many times trying
Oh,
stuff
yeah.
that you shouldn't have, but you did it. I even went to Nepal, to the base camp of Everest, when I was 33, 34. And I had someone pay my way to do it. But that was what was it? A centennial or something, but on the calendar, on their calendar. And what it was is that, and it was celebrating one of the English climbers that died on the mountain.
Yeah. Good day, Dan. How are you? And yes, it is Strauss in the background.
Yeah, we went to clean up the trash at base camp.
How you going, Mike?
Mike, at least, not Dan, you idiot. Not you, Jay, me. Another early morning for you, is it, Mike? Must be getting warm over there, is it, Jay? You're in your t-shirt. Yeah, we've got a beautiful sunny day here too. Nice spring day it is. Yeah, I know that feeling, Mike. As my physiotherapist and chiropractor say, you are now paying for misspent youth.
Yeah, last Friday I was at the VA. Let's see if they cleared me so I could go on this trip I got to do for the next 3 weeks because I won an award. And I'll be doing live. I'll be joining when we can. Probably from Hilton Head Resort a couple nights. Because that's where the award thing is.
Why, what's the award for?
It's for turning the urns for disabled vets and all the way back to Gulf War I. And when I look at pictures of what I originally turned, the idea was that it was better than a cardboard box. And I expected every one of them to be probably put in a professional made one, even though they came from China. And come to find out later that from some of the posts that handled them, people still had them on in closets or on mantles and stuff like that because they thought they really looked good, but there was hardly two alike. It was something that took about 3 hours to turn, 4 hours to turn, drill out the inside, hollow it out some more, and then just shape the outside. And at that time, I was only doing canister style because they were cheap. And the thing is, I had there were times where I'd have like 30 to make that had come in and was sitting for me to supply the urn because the people couldn't afford one, the families. Because otherwise they shipped them in cardboard boxes. And I just thought that's horrendous.
Yep.
Plastic bag in a cardboard box. And I kept it a big secret because it was kind of illegal to do it because I didn't have the paperwork, they were just, quote, being donated and they were accepted, and that's how they've shipped them in that. But they took the plastic bag that the ashes were in, and actually that's what I had. On the first one they shipped me, it was my neighbor, and that's how it started. It was his son, and it was a plastic bag, and I simply made it to earn big enough, put bag and all in, put the top on, and let them, give them a small tube of epoxy glue, or at that time it was a different glue. Hadn't been epoxy invented yet. But the object is that they could do what they wanted with it.
Oh, my ashes have been spread out over the backyard and over the driveway because I figured if people have been walking over me for years, they might as well continue to do so.
I like that. If I lived out in the country, I would specify that too. Just sprinkle me over the driveway. Unfortunately, I have a plot that our family's had them for years and years, and it was a whole section of the cemetery for Elliots here, and it was all laid out a long time ago, and now the grandkids and stuff like that are all out there too, have the plots laid aside. Because what they did is donated an odd section, but it was still a big size of the family farm for the church, for the cemetery, to put the Elliots in there. Because it's Elliott Farm. My great-grandfather's farm.
No, my brother's ashes, we spread them on one of our favourite walking tracks.
That's become quite common here. Or the other is I've had a couple of urns returned. They sprinkle it on the lake that they used to fish at here in Michigan. And because they're allowed to do that. It's just cremated ashes. It's non-toxic to fish or anything. And no bacteria because that's all dead. As long as you don't break the seal on the bag that comes from the crematorium. But they sprinkle it in their favorite hunting area or on the back of their farm. Or I had the oddest one I ever had, and I might still dig up a picture of it. I'm gonna have to, but I figure out where I put it. It's a flower pot, and it looks just like a terracotta flower pot. Because the woman that asked for it, her husband was a full bird colonel that I knew that was local. And she came to me and she was going to move as soon as her youngest son graduated from the University of Michigan, Ann Arbor, because was getting his master's, and they had this big plot of land and a house that they had already built. I think it was in Colorado, outside of Denver. And what she wanted to do, his wish was to be buried under his roses, because he loved raising roses. So the urn I got thinking of looked like a terracotta pot, even with the base where you would sit the pot on to hold the water. And it was easy to turn, big.
Just going to interrupt you for a minute, Bob. Yeah, John, it's too early. What time is it over there? You got to wait until at least 3 o'clock in the morning. That's when they'll have it. He was saying there was a false alarm on his cow, so.
Oh, yeah.
False alarm, and I continue to wait.
But I turned this urn that looked like a flower pot. And what she wanted to do is where it has the lip on the top, of a terracotta pot, the round one, the cheapies.
Yeah.
I made the bottom of that. I turned a piece of wood, actually bandsaw, it fit in there, and that was the plug that would hold the ashes. Because the object was, she wanted to be able to put flowers on top of it. I had to make a second one to make it out of proportion, because the top where the rim was had to be a little higher to put the styrofoam in for whatever flowers at the time she wanted to put in there. And had to waterproof it so she could water them if she planted seeds. She ended up putting dirt in the top and then planting petunias or some of that stuff, and would sit it on the back deck. And her husband was in the bottom half as ashes. But he insisted under his roses where she wanted to die, and she kept them for 2 years doing that in the flower pot urn. And then they moved, and I understand I got a postcard with a card with a picture in it, or not, where they actually planted the urn under his favorite rose bush when they finally transplanted it and moved out to Colorado. And they moved a bunch of the roses from their rose garden. So he ended up being planted under his roses, and that was his wish.
Yeah.
So I made an urn that had him under his roses, and she could take when the last kid finished school and they moved out to the other house to live, he got put in the ground, urn and all.
Geez, you got another 4 hours and 4 or 5 hours to go yet, John.
Oh yeah, he must be Eastern Standard Time.
He's not that far behind. He's actually same time as Detroit.
Right, that's Eastern. Eastern Standard.
He's been up since 4 o'clock this morning. Yeah.
He's got me beat. I was up at 6 to make sure the kids got off to school. Hey, John, what state are you in?
A state of apprehension at the moment, I would say.
Is he a nervous dad or an anxious one?
Oh, just a cattleman, probably. Get used to your herd.
Yeah, you're right, John. Bloody long day and only going to get longer.
Yeah. Tell you, the grossest thing I've ever seen was where the I don't know what you call it, a farmer or dairyman delivered a calf because they had to go in and pull it out. Oh,
Yep.
with the gloves that go to the shoulder.
That's why I said, have you got long rubber gloves? Done
Yeah.
it a few times myself.
I've seen it done out west with a pony or the small horses because it was the wrong way around and they had to get it turned around to get it out. It's like being at the right place at, I don't know, the right time, but
Oh, I was aiming
being a city boy, it was surprising.
Yeah.
I can hear
Just
the bandsaw or something working.
Thrashing the bandsaw out.
Oh, right. Yeah, it's the afterbirth that comes out afterwards. It seems to hit the ground and splat.
Yeah, the placenta.
It's slippery as shit.
I'm taking that's from experience.
Oh, yeah. And it's not only cows either. Although human beings are a bit easier.
Yes. Oh, Ontario. Just north of us, actually northeast. Or it depends. It's Canada's a funny thing in the sense that they're technically in one place south of Detroit, which really is one of those trick questions when you ask what country is north, south, east, and west of the United States, and people stumble and they can't figure it out.
That used to be a trivia question. I got that right every time.
Yep, Canada. Because it is south of Michigan, in the thumb part of Michigan. It's north, of course. It crosses the date line, so it's east. So part of it is East Coast, and it's also West Coast. Yeah, John, my family is all from Brantford and all the way down through Chatham. And I got relatives in Mississauga, and most of my cousins are all Mounties, except one owned one of the biggest chicken farms there in Ontario. Actually, second biggest in North America. Oh, Murray Elliott. And his brother has been in Canadian politics forever. They're retired now.
I have to try and fix this light. It seems to be washing everything out at the moment.
It's not too bad.
It's got some nice red in the wood, and I can't see it on the screen.
Yeah.
I can see it in front of me though.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of apps that computers can have, or you can download, will actually let you adjust the camera itself and actually set up what is a white balance.
What the hell's she doing now?
She's got her palm sander out. You're lucky that's quiet.
She's doing her nails.
I've offered to do them for her with a Dremel, but she declines.
You don't let her use your Dremel?
No. She wants someone else to do it, you see. So I know I offered, because I do it for free. But it might not be up to her satisfaction. Sounds like a plane.
So, you know, your next investment's going to be a soundproofing board to separate the two sheds.
Hell no.
To go on the inside of yours and the inside of hers.
Every individual person has their own mute button, so they can use it.
Do you mute her often?
Do I what?
Mute her?
No.
See, you just don't use it.
No.
We actually can't mute anybody else, I don't think. You can. I can't.
But it's not that noise. I don't consider it's just art happening with a great music background.
Yeah, that's a bit better. I couldn't hear what you were saying. I had to go and ask her to move.
Yeah, get up the far end.
No, I just told her to go inside of her shed instead of sitting. She was standing out at the door doing it.
Oh, yeah.
No.
Yeah, that's better.
Yeah. I can actually
you're gonna need to put a red light, outdoor light.
Oh no, she normally tells me. She normally tells me when
red...
she's gonna fire that noisy bastard up.
Just so do it like a radio and TV studio. Put a red light outside, a little 12-volt trailer light, and when it's on, it means you're on the air, and she will know.
No, in that neighbourhood, it would mean something else, Rob.
Yeah, I didn't want to say, but yeah.
Okay. It'd make him a red light district, open for business.
Pretty much.
Yeah, Salisbury Downs, the Amsterdam of Adelaide.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's not exactly a how would you put it?
A religious community?
No. We'd all frizzle up if we went into a church. All of us around here, I'm telling you. I'll put the noise back on and things are going to go quiet.
No, it's all right.
No, I was just going to ask John if he knew Cade, if he was anywhere near where Cade lives in Ontario. Yeah, Cade's a member of our club. Detroit area would turn out.
What's for lunch today, Robbo?
Toast and soup, I think.
Oh. It's a bit rough, isn't it?
Tomato or vegetable or homemade?
No, potato and leek.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Yeah, that's nice. Nice and filling at least, over a watery soup.
Yeah,
No, I don't mind. I actually don't mind toast and soup. It's
yeah, that's what I was saying. At least a leek soup's got to be a bit more filling than a minestrone or something.
Oh yeah, yeah.
As a kid, the favorite soups that we had was tomato soup, not made with water, made with real milk, and then Ritz crackers, little round crackers.
Yeah.
We'd come home from school because we had lunchtime in elementary school. We could come home and eat and then go back again. And we'd come home and eat our tomato soup for lunch, watch the TV, which was Soupy Sales for the lunchtime, and it was all timed with the Detroit Public Schools for lunch. And it would end in time, and it would be like, now it's time to get to school. You got to hurry up and ride your bikes so you're not late. And we get on the bike and ride to school.
We were never allowed out in the schoolyard once we got there in the morning. Big no-no.
Yeah, after a while, they kept us in, but it was a pretty safe neighborhood that we lived in.
Oh, wasn't that though? Plus, it was too far for us to go home for lunch anyway. But,
Oh, yeah.
but no. G'day, Chris. Yeah, I could go with that too, Mike. Yeah.
How you going, Chris?
Leek and potato soup is my favourite with a cheese sandwich to dunk in it.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, I just like toast, and I did the toast in it. No, I like most soups except bloody pumpkin soup. I can't stand pumpkin soup, but then I don't like pumpkins either, so that's...
Yeah. Yeah, it was as a kid, I remember my mother, grandmother, aunts, uncles all made their soups from scratch.
Oh, yeah.
And then when canned soups come out, we thought that was the greatest thing because it was quick. And at like 8 years old, 9 years old, you could open the can of soup and put it in a pot for your mother to heat. And
must
that
admit,
was a big thing.
During winter time, that was a staple in our place, because it was generally we'd have a roast on a Sunday, roast lamb or something like that, because chicken was too expensive back then. And then we'd have roast dinner on Sunday, cold cuts on Monday for tea, probably Tuesday as well if there was enough. And then that bone went into the soup, and then Mum would make a big pot of soup with vegetables and stuff in it. But it lasted us until the next Sunday pretty well, so wasn't much wasted in our place.
No, that's the way my family was when I was a kid up in Canada. And then when I go to visit, that's the way it was, and my parents did it here. Because I was born here in Detroit by about an hour. My mother was in labor as they were driving to get me across the border.
I was born on the backside of a car in the middle of a howling thunderstorm.
Oh, you got scared out, eh?
No. they couldn't get the car through the floods. There was massive floods around our area, so, and Mum went into labour early and they couldn't get to the hospital. But the hospital still charged them for it.
Oh boy.
After we eventually got there. But my mother was actually born on a kitchen table.
Oh, I've heard that in my family as part of the family memories. And then you'd sit, and when you find out, I mean, you're like 5, 6 years old and they're talking about it around the farmhouse table with all your cousins that's your age or a year or two older. And then they come up with that and we look at the table. Yes, and we're eating on it. And it was, sit down, shut up. It's been cleaned.
Now, Mike, I'm interested in that. I've got a fairly expensive thicknesser, and I've never ever been able to get the snipe out of it. I always overcut the timber by 3 or 4 inches and then cut the snipe off afterwards. So how did you get rid of the snipe out of it? Snipe is, to answer your question, Chris, when you're planing a board through a thicknesser, snipe is the little bit that takes the extra off the end. You'll get, say you're planing at an inch thick, and then suddenly the last inch or so will be about 15/16 instead of being the inch. You'll see a definite line down it where it comes out of the machine.
I always thought that snipe came from the fact that the output table was not perfectly level and flat with the cutter guides. And then the weight of the wood as it came out, just as the end of it was coming through, the weight of the wood pushed it up a bit into the cutter minutely.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
They never give you enough area to tweak it so as to get it out. I know I had a Makita once.
No, mine's a solid cast iron table underneath on the bottom of the bed, and
ooh,
it still gets a little bit of snipe in it.
Huh. Sure, it's not the board tipping up.
Well, we've tried various things, like always lift the board as it's coming out the last 2 inches anyway. So, but I think what it is as the initial feed roller, the primary feed roller, if you like, when it runs through past that, it doesn't exert as much pressure down on the timber, so it just flicks a little bit.
Yeah.
But there's no adjustment on mine. It's just all solid cast iron, big 20-inch thicknesser. But like I say, I just add an extra 3 or 4 inches onto the timber and trim them back after I've machined them.
Yeah, well, that was common with the my grandfather's planer, but that was a belt drive system and all cast. But he always had to cut stuff longer, and then he knew automatically it was just so much longer that he'd cut off on a saw.
Yeah, that's what I do. Just make it longer. Now, Chris, I don't know whether you mean "huh" as a question you didn't understand, or hold on. I'll see if I can find the notepad here.
Sounds like the Makita's got a lot better. The one I had, I sold it 10, 12 years ago, so it was a really old one. I went to what I had is a DeWalt. The DeWalt Pro. And it uses the carbide cutters on the cutting drum. And no, I didn't pay for it. It was a friend that passed away, and his wife said, anything you want in his shop is yours. So that came with it, along with a table saw.
All right. Now, can you just put me on full screen for a minute, please, Joe?
Oh.
Right. Chris, there's your board going through there like that. And see that point right there at the end of the board? Wait, I'll get it. It dips down there where it, I've got to go backwards. And you get a line through there off your cutter head. And that's called snipe. Yeah, mine's a bit of a beast. The lights dim when I turn mine on too. The beast of a thing, 3 horsepower.
The whole neighbourhood dims.
Yeah, I think it actually draws more amps than what my welder does.
Yeah.
Initial startup, anyway.
Yeah.
Well, what I did with my DeWalt is you can run it on 110 or 220 or 240. So I went in and made mine 240, just like the lathe is. So I can plug my outlets. I have several 240 outlets in my shop, and that way I could run it. Because otherwise it just makes the lights dim.
I'm all right.
Just clumsy.
Hello, Amber.
Hi.
She's in the other shed, but I was wondering, she made a noise, so I went to see what was going on, and she's putting some liquid beeswax on her coasters, and she dropped one in the sawdust.
Oh, right.
You never ever drop them before you've put a coating on them, do you?
No, never. Yeah, the blades can generally be resharpened. Mine are all resharpened. They're not replaceable. In fact, I have some here.
What a coincidence, eh?
Yeah, well, when it's got to go away, when they're ready to be sharpened, I'll put them in the office so they'll know where they are.
Hang on, Robert.
So they don't get mixed up with just little ones, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not seeing anything.
As I did on the DeWalt 350 or 735, is that I got the carbide blade holder, and I really like it. It cost a pretty good penny, but theirs is designed so you can actually, if you get them in and they run fine and they start dulling, you can individually unscrew them and rotate them, uh, which is kind of nice.
Yeah. If I was 15 or 20 years younger, I'd actually buy one of the helical cutting heads because they are absolutely fantastic.
Now, I've only used mine probably 3 times since COVID's hit here.
But if I want something really machined well, I've got a mate up the road that's actually a joiner, and his thickness is 4 foot wide, and it actually self sharpens.
They cover up all my mistakes. Good. Done, there you go. Good process for the house now.
Yeah, that's the problem, Mike. They're the same price as the whole machine.
There you go, Bob. How's that?
Well, the only thing I like about the carbide blades is you can rotate, and you got to keep track of them in the head, but you can rotate them, 4 times. So they do last 4 times longer. It's just you got so many of them to rotate.
Well, that's it. The biggest advantage is they're so quiet. That was the all thickness are noisy, Chris, unfortunately.
You're an engineer, Chris. You should make something to make it not so loud.
What?
As a matter of fact, I took the extractors off mine for the simple reason that it kept clogging up the. I was forever emptying the dust extractor.
Yeah, that too.
Take that.
I found that I was doing greenwood, and I only at the time had a 2-inch hose attached to mine.
Sorry, what was that?
On mine, the port size was for a 2-inch hose.
Oh yeah.
And if I was doing greenwood, wet greenwood with the carbide, it would stick to everything. And I thought, well, I'll be smart. The machine might need a mechanical ground to get rid of the static, because the spinning head creates static. And so in the electrical ground that comes in, should it be attached to the frame of the machine? But you can't always depend on it. Or when they did on mine, I found that it was attached over 4 coats of baked on paint. So to test it, I simply got a battery charging cable that had the big clamp, and I clamped it to the side of the machine and clamped it to one of the conduit boxes I had, which was earthed, and everything still stuck to it because it was wet.
Exactly. Nothing to do with static.
No, well, I was hoping that might be part of it. Like I've grounded my lathe, and and it's earthed technically. Well, because I plug it in and unplug it, and it's a 4-prong outlet, all I need are 3 legally. And I put a 4-prong outlet in, and that 4th prong actually is earthed to a physical ground rod. And that I have used that earth ground because I took it right to the frame of my lathe and fastened it right to the leg, took the paint off, and drilled and tapped and put it right in there. And that keeps a lot of stuff from sticking to my lathe, which I find is fantastic. And
I've never had that problem actually. But then we run earth pins on all our electrical stuff anyway. So
yeah, and we do too, but it goes through so many connections before it gets fastened to the earth. Because the only place you're allowed to do it by our code is at point of entrance to the building. And that goes to a water pipe. And that's it. But I did a mechanical ground to the lathe body. And in our code, that's legal to do. And that sure has helped.
well, that was in Australia now. Of course, they're using all plastic water pipes, so they can't earth to them. They've got to put a physical ground rod in.
Yes.
Then we've got a heap of bloody. Also, we've got earth leakage detectors and.
Yes, I was going to say that. I've got to put one in for my sister. I got to put a new panel in for her because the house is like 30 years old and the panel is classified as a major fire hazard, and she has to change it out because the breakers are known not to work at all. And it was a recall, and she got tied up in it. So I got asked, I'll pay your way down and pay you for a couple of weeks vacation and take you places, and you've got an award coming. And she let it go that I have an award coming and next week sometime at Hilton Head Resort. But I've hung many a panel.
Yeah, I'd have probably made the stem.
them.
I'd have probably made the stem a bit thinner, Jay, but that's me.
Yeah, it's wet, and I didn't want it to warp or anything when it dried. That's all.
Oh yeah.
You bury it in shavings to dry it.
No, I'll wing it. Ding it.
Well, that'll suck the water out. If you got the shavings you collect on the floor, just throw it in a good old laundry bucket and
that was cutting a bit fine. Yes.
Oh,
no,
I like that. That's character.
Look, it's split.
Yeah.
That's character. It's a dribble glass.
Yeah, it is.
Have you ever had one of those snuck to you to drink from?
No. How you going? Thanks, Mike. No, I said how you going, but no, I haven't, Bob.
They're just a regular. They look like a regular glass, except that as part of the decorations around it, they actually have a hole in it. So when you tip it up to drink, it'll dribble.
Oh yeah.
It's a novelty glass.
Yep.
And they might have 4 of them on. So you're always, when you tip it up, it's going to dribble a bit.
Yep.
I don't need a glass to do that. I dribble all the time.
Amen.
Comes with your age.
That was a fun thing we used to do in school in the cafeteria. Poke a little hole in their Dixie cup that they were drinking out of from the pop machine. The most fun I ever had when we were doing stage plays in school is I got candles that you can't blow out.
Yeah.
And in one of the plays, they had to carry a flame on stage and blow it out. When they blew it out, it went to black. And it was Waiting for Godot. And I got him a candle you couldn't blow out. It would blow out and it'd flicker back again. They never figured out who did it, though, because I was above approach, and it got blamed on one of the people in the orchestra who was a practical joker.
Better hope they're not watching, Bob.
I'll tell you what, you want to see
For my age.
You want to see the regulations like for having live flames on stage now.
Oh yeah, it's ridiculous.
You have to have the fire brigade there.
Well, here you've got to have in professional theaters, it's too expensive, but sometimes magicians and people want it, is that you got to have a person on each side of the stage with a certain class and model fire extinguisher, and it's a foam to put it out, so it smothers it out. And that's the cheap way out, and that's for a certain capacity of house. But where they do carry candles and stuff on stage, they actually have to have pipes as part of the battens, for a theater, that actually are sprinklers that drench the whole set.
They'll use sprinklers.
Yeah, as part of even in the fly gallery. Well, in the fly gallery specifically, that's required in order to put a fire out in the fly gallery.
The fly gallery? That's at summertime.
No. We used to have two firefighters, one at each other side of the stage with the extinguishers, and a fire truck parked outside, hooked to the mains. For one thing that we did, it's a pain in the bum. Which always astounds me how they get along, like all these rock bands now with all these pyrotechnics. I wonder how the hell they get on with them actually, sometimes.
Yeah.
There's been a couple of incidents where the theatres have caught on fire.
Well, I used to often, while I was in high school, it was always fun if you could do it, is to build a flash pot into usage on one of the plays if you could. And I had taken the course. Here you had to actually take a course offered quarterly through the stagehands, the union in Detroit, even though I wasn't a member because I was too young. But in order to use a flash pot, I had to go and spend 2 days. And it was interesting how fires start and how to have a live candle and what you have to do. Because I did all the lighting and effects and sound work, and because I was into that all the time in school. That's what I was known for.
So, you're not sleeping very well there, Robbo?
I've had a few bad nights, but anyway.
I can tell by the music. It doesn't bother me. I just had to inquire,
That's a good trick. It's been pulled on me, and it scared the ever-loving out of me to have.
We had a kid in Scouts once, and anyway, we were at a big camp called the Hoadley Hyde, and anyway, came in one morning. I was a troop leader, and the leaders and myself were having a bit of conference about the activities I was doing for the day, and this kid comes in, And he's looking really, really worried. He said, "Oh, I think I might have to go to the doctor." And I went, "Why? What's the problem?" "Oh, well," he said, when I went to the dunny this morning, he said I had a leak, and he said it was bright red. And one of the leaders suddenly started getting upset, and I, "Oh, well, we better get an ambulance out and send you." I said, No. I said, "Just wait a minute." I said, "Didn't you hoe into a can of beetroot last night?" And he said, "Yeah." I said, "Well, that's why your peas red, you dumb bastard."
Yeah,
Hello.
beets will do it.
Jay's gone. He's deserted us. So once we told him that, he was, but I don't think he ever touched beetroot ever again.
My camera dropped out.
Ah,
Good old Windows. Well, I reckon I might knock it on the head.
yeah, well, done well today. And it's getting close to my lunchtime anyway.
Yeah, it's
And it's 10 o'clock in Detroit, or close to it.
yeah,
Yeah.
9:50, and in Ontario, Canada.
Yeah.
They're the same time as we are.
Yeah,
There's
all right.
All right. See you later. Thanks for coming in.
Yep.
All right, see you later, Mike. See you, Chris. Effie, if you're in the background, and John,
It's
and
been
if you're
fun.
there. Hope you had fun with your cow.
All right. See you later,
Let
guys.
us know tomorrow about the cow.
Yeah. Thanks for
Give
coming
a
in.
picture you can show us.
Take it easy, everyone.
All right.